Hey everybody, this is my review for Delirium by Lauren Oliver. So this is a science fiction romance novel. I was commissioned to read it. I would say that I like the science fiction aspect more than the romance aspect. The general premise is that sometime in the 1950s, the United States government decided that love is a disease that must be eradicated. And the book takes place in the present day. So it's sort of like a prison, in that all the cities are basically walled off and they're being protected from all the people who are just living in the wilds, and those people are infected with the dangerous disease of love. Whenever you turn 18 years old, you get a surgery. It's basically like a lobotomy. They go into the back of your head, behind your ear, and prevent you from falling in love. So our main character is Lena, and she's just a normal person who's very serious and concerned about falling in love. She's counting down the days until she has her surgery. And the reason is that her mother had the surgery 3 times, but they never cured her. And so her mother would secretly do loving stuff with them when they were kids. Like, dance around. And people were suspicious if the mom was nice to her kids in public and stuff like that. And so her mother was basically taken and died. Also her sister, we learn about 300 pages later, her sister was infected with the disease, and so she had to be dragged off screaming to have the operation. So that's part of the reason why Lena is just so calm and concerned and, never wants to do anything bad ever, and she's sort of terrified to death of her evaluation. So basically, what happens is everybody gets evaluated. They give you like a psychological exam, and they learn about your personality, and you get paired with somebody else to marry. So she's given a list of like 4 guys who are compatible with her, and the guy she ends up being matched with is just total loser. He has asthma, and so she really, really hates him. I thought it was kind of cruel how she hated him so much, but.
Well, I guess that would make them very compatible then, if you're not supposed to like them or love them.
It's strange when you get into stuff like that, because all of the adults in town clearly have feelings. They have a wide range of emotions, but they don't feel anything too strongly. That seems to be the implication of, you don't have love, you don't really feel anything too strongly. And then there's also stuff like, she says, "Oh, I love children." And this is a world where you never say the word love out loud, because you'll get arrested for doing so.
So was it like a Starbucks cup in the what's it called, the Game of Thrones scene sort of moment?
Yeah, there are 2 points where she says love out loud, contradicting the fact that you're never supposed to say love at any point. So continuity on those parts.
Well, are you sure it wasn't just like the author being like...
No, this was her prepping for her evaluation, prepping what she's gonna say, and one of her prep lines has the word love in it, which should be like a huge red flag.
Well, but it could also be the author just kind of like making a point. Like, you know what I mean? It could have been intentional, like just to kind of throw you off.
An intentional continuity error.
It could be, yeah, just to kind of go and make a point, like not necessarily an oversight.
I would say probably not, because the author is really careful about language. That's one of the great things about this book. The author just has a great way with words and comes up with all these creative, different phrases. And so I'll get back to the storyline in just a minute. I just want to say one of the hallmarks of good sci-fi is that the world is an interesting place, and it would be interesting to see this world through the lens of any character, not just the chosen one who's going to save the world. Obviously, this is a dystopia, and I'm pretty sure that Lena's going to end up saving the world and bringing love back. This book was written, like 2010, at the height of the dystopia era. So, The Hunger Games, I believe, is the most famous one.
And that wasn't too many years after V for Vendetta came out.
Yeah, but there are like 2 books that people keep recommending that are similar to Delirium. One is Matched, where basically the same sort of thing. The government matches you with people. They decide who you get married to. And then I think the other one is Uglies, where like when you turn 18, you get plastic surgery to completely change your looks and become a beautiful person. So those were, I haven't read either of those books, but people who know the genre say, well, Delirium is a lot like those two books, so if you like those two books, you'd probably like that. So
It sounds a little like Handmaid's Tale, like a little bit. Kind of
yeah,
weird,
and also like The
forced,
Giver.
contrived.
It's the same sort of thing. Government basically controls people. It gets to determine who you marry, who you have kids with. You don't really get any freedom. And I mentioned there were like gangs of enforcers that run through the streets. They basically like beat people to death with clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And
You know, reading those kind of books makes you a little concerned, like, because you think about, like, the culture in, like, a country like Saudi Arabia, you know, where it's a little more, like, forced and contrived, and so we're reading this book through the lens of, like, you know, the Western Judaic Christian culture. You know, I'd be
I'm glad
curious
you
to,
mentioned
like,
that, because what the book does, this is something I thought was really interesting, is they give us cultural moments at the start of every chapter. They have like a quotation. Most of the quotations are from this imaginary book, the book of Shh, which is about love. And some of the things are like psalms and stuff like this. They've really like built up a completely different religion, which is sort of based on the Judaic Christian religion, but there's also like elements of science mixed into it. Is really interesting world building, but some people complain that there wasn't enough world building, because you have to wonder, how did the country go from love is a disease to just this totalitarian state that
so
it's
basically
in?
somebody wanted a prequel is what they wanted.
Basically, I think the there's two more books in this trilogy, so I think they probably go into that. Getting back to the plot line. So she has a best friend named Hannah, who's this most gorgeous girl ever, gorgeous rich girl, who's also this rebel and keeps trying to do bad things. I felt that was a little bit of plot convenience, because the story needed her to, needed our main character to go to these rebel undergrounds. So her friend basically takes her to a music scene, gets her to break into areas, and she meets this guy named Alex. And she starts to slowly develop feelings for him, and it was kind of an obvious reveal that he's not actually cured. He has the scar, but he's not actually cured. He's one of the invalids. He's a person who lives he's from the outside area and broke into town and assumed a new identity. I thought that was kind of cool too, just the idea that there's this underground of people that are working inside the system to sort of bring it down. So she slowly falls in love with him, and it gets really mushy. She really, really loves this guy, and of course he's got a tragic backstory, because this is a love novel aimed at teenagers.
Well, it's the forbidden romance thing. I mean...
Yeah, but I mean, any romance would be forbidden in this world, so...
Mm-hmm.
But, there's also a huge lens of the forbidden romance in that, she's breaking the law in order to be with this guy, and this guy's constantly breaking the law just by existing. And,
so he is a bad boy too. Yeah, so
that's
stereotypical.
That sort of thing. Let's see. There's a raid that they almost get attacked in. They manage to survive it. She gets bitten by a dog in the leg. It's really nasty. Also, something that's kind of nasty, swearing. About 100 pages in, the book just starts dropping heavy swears. I'm like, whoa, I thought this was sort of PG-13
Was it this
rated.
particular character that was doing it, or did, like...
I think like 2 to 3 characters say the two big cuss words. So it was something that took me by surprise. This is definitely a book designed for teenagers. But before that, it was just like, okay, these are, this is kind of normal middle school fiction. But then it started going into swearing and stuff. So the big ending, sort of that her mom is not dead. Her mom is still alive. She's in the crypts, which I guess is supposed to be like some sort of sanatorium or insane asylum where they lock up various people. And
so it seems kind of weird. So either you're like free and loose and wild on the outside, or you're basically locked up in some kind of mental institution.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So she gets to see her mother's cell. And mom just wrote the word love, 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 love all over the cell. And it turns out that was a fake. So the O in the letter and the word love is basically a tunnel. She was building a secret tunnel. So the O is a tunnel, and she used it to break out and escape. And so her mom escaped like 2 months ago.
So metaphoric.
Oh man, so her mom's love saved her.
Set her free.
Yeah. And so at this point, Lena's like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm not surviving this world anymore. She wants to escape with this guy, Alex, and, live with him in the wild and meet her mother and such like that. So obviously they get caught like 2 days before they're going to leave. We're never told how the police force find out.
Does he die?
I was building up to that. Thank you.
Okay. I haven't actually read the book. But you know what? If I can predict how it's going to end, then it's not a good ending. If someone who has not read the book and the only thing I know about it is what you just said these last 10 minutes.
Oh boy. So basically they capture her and she basically gets strapped to her bed and she just sort of sits and wishes she's gonna die, but he comes and saves her. It's kind of strange because he shows up on a motorcycle and drives off.
Stereotypical bad boy move.
We have no idea where the motorcycle came from because
it doesn't matter. It's an Uncle Jesse from Full House move.
Well, I was going to say that it's previously established that there aren't really cars in this world. Only really rich people still have cars and use them. It's sort of a status symbol to actually have a car. So a lot of people have a car, but they can't afford to use it. They just have the car sitting out in their front yard to make it seem like they're cool. So it's kind of strange that, her boyfriend managed to find a working motorcycle, and it's never explained where the motorcycle came from. So they escape, and the guards are chasing after them and firing.
You know what? Motorcycles are sexy.
Shooting.
If he had come on his tricycle, it just wouldn't be as cool. I'm gonna pedal you to safety on my two-speeder. Let's go, sweet pie.
Okay, so they get to the fence, and he basically sacrifices himself for her. That was the big ending to the electric fence that lets them escape. So basically, he sacrificed himself so she could escape, and he's basically hanging onto the electric fence, shot, going, "I love you," something like that, and she's like, love, they can never take it away from me, never, never. And that's where the book ends. I honestly thought that if I didn't know that it was going to be a trilogy, I would have thought that was the end of the book, and that's exactly where it ended, because it was a nice stopping point. Mm-hmm. Some people thought, oh man, this is a terrible cliffhanger. I'm like, no, I actually thought that was a really nice ending spot. If the entire series ended there, I would have been satisfied.
It kind of sounds like they were planning on ending it there.
No. Apparently it was announced as a trilogy, because that's what they did. Like I said, it was the height of the dystopia era, when they were doing Hunger Games, and so everybody's like, here's my brand new trilogy. Rather than, like you said, the more sensible thing would have been to just float a bunch of one-shot books, and if they're popular, turn them into a trilogy. But, also Harry Potter wasn't envisioned as a singular book, it was envisioned as a series, so it was definitely a time where kids wanted to devour longer series. Okay, so that's basically it. I don't have anything else on my notes to talk about.
Mm-hmm. So what book have you been, wanting to read, but it just doesn't fit in with your BookTube channel?
I don't know. I've actually been wanting to read some more Star Trek stuff, actually. Mm-hmm. I don't know how interested people are in. I don't think people are super interested in seeing me read Star Trek, but if I did that, I would do it like this, where it's just me talking to the camera for 5 minutes, rather than me doing one of those really long reviews. Because this book is long. It's 480 pages. So that was sort of a reason why I was doing the review like this, because if I had done, my normal review, it would have taken me at least 5 hours to read through the book and review it and come up with the pictures and everything.
I see. Well, it is what it is. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.